Hey everybody, welcome to DFW's Real Estate Best, where we are hearing from the best of the best in real estate here. And oh my goodness, who we have on today's show is certainly no exception. I know it's going to be some names that you have heard in the real estate industry here in Dallas. But firstly, want to make sure that you know all the different places we're streaming. So if you're not subscribed yet, I want to encourage you to get on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcast, and look for DFW's Real Estate Best. We stream Wednesdays at 11 a.m. live through Facebook and YouTube, and also on those other platforms you'll see our show. But we are powered by the difference. We have Lendon behind the scenes there, controlling and operating and making all of this happen. And if you guys aren't familiar with the difference, they do radio, live stream, podcasts. They just provide branding and digital development for businesses locally and statewide. And at the end of the show there, I'm going to let Lendon share more about this awesome platform that we're streaming through live today. But firstly, I'm going to have Lendon bring on Matthew Edwards from backstage there. Hey, Matthew.
Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. And so for those of you that don't know, Matthew is with Dave Perry Miller Real Estate. He is a consistent top producer. He's been with Dave Perry Miller since 2004.
Yes,
Hasn't it
very
been?
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's amazing. Out of the over, I think, 15,000 agents that Dave Perry Miller has, you were one of the original 10, weren't you, Matthew?
Yes, I was. Back in the old days, yes. And it was
Back in the old days. And not only one of the original 10, you were actually recruited by the man himself, Dave Perry Miller.
Yes.
And I have to do a shout out here to the Dominoes. Cody and Juliet from Alamo Title. Shout out to you guys. That's how we actually first got introduced.
Yes, and I love both Cody and Julie. They're wonderful, and they do great jobs for all my closings.
Yeah, they certainly are amazing. We love having them a part of the Real Producers community here in Dallas, and certainly yourself, Matthew, being a top 500 agent of ours. But I know there's also another person that's waiting backstage there that we also love. I'm going to let you introduce him, Matthew.
Well, George Bass, I've known for, my God, I think almost 20 years.
Wow.
And, you know, he started this incredible business. Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's been 15 years. I think it's been right in there. But he has basically, you know, he started slowly. And I was with him in the beginning, slowly. And now he is basically just taken over Dallas with his expertise. He's basically, in my opinion, there's nobody else better in Dallas than him for staging.
Awesome. Well, George, why don't you come and join us here, owner of George Bass Stage and Design. Welcome. Glad to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Rochelle. A pleasure to be here with everybody today. Thanks.
Yeah. Now, you guys go back a long way, as Matthew said here, so I know we can get some inside scoop, perhaps hear from each other. But I know when I met with you both, Matthew, you not only just are an old friend of George, but you actually were a part of the beginnings of forming George Bass and Design. What is the backstory there? I'm sure people would love to hear.
Well, go ahead, Matt. Well, I think Matthew Edwards was really the original agent who brought us to the forefront of staging in Dallas back in the day. And I believe it was 2000, maybe it was 2000, late 2006, early 2007. There was not a lot of staging going on in Dallas, and the staging that was going on, it was a very exclusive, closed, private entity for super, super luxury listings. Now, New York and Los Angeles were a little bit ahead of the forefront, so there was already something there. But for Dallas itself, it was just a very primitive kind of existence. We were lucky enough to open up the doors those years. Matthew was wonderful enough to introduce us to himself and many of his colleagues at Dave Perry Miller who started using our services. Slowly but surely, we grew during the toughest part of a housing crash in
Wow.
07, 08. And the rest is history. I mean, we just, it was just like the little engine who could, and we just kept going and going and going year after year. And
Yeah.
that's how it became about. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. When we were talking before, you were just sharing how staging and design truly wasn't a regular marketing tool for many real estate agents in the U.S. And now certainly it is at the forefront. And Matthew, you were right there on the cutting edge with it. And I know marketing is also a passion of yours. How key has it been partnering with George with your marketing with that?
Okay. As of recently, I mean, I've had exceptional 2020, and this year is already going to be much better than that year. So, but my point is, every house that I've been selling, and literally recently, just in 2 days, and George, matter of fact, Worthington is going under contract today.
Wonderful.
And that's 2 days. So this is his staging. And the thing is, a house right next to us is not staged, and it's underpriced, and it's not moving. So I mean, staging to me is vital because it showcases the house to the nth degree, and it's visual. Most people aren't visual, and when they see it, they love it. They jump on it. The property on Pine Forest I put on a Friday had 28 showings. Had an open house with 45 people, got 11 offers. And this is a $1.5 million property, and it went way over asking. So his staging was off the charts again. And to me, a lot of agents are afraid to ask, which to me, it's insane, because wouldn't you rather spend the, additional monies versus having to lower your price?
Right.
And, and on George's behalf, I mean, the way that he handles himself with the clients is incredible. And that's really, I think, a big part of his success, because you have to know how to work with the people.
Well, and how long you have been working together too. That speaks volumes both ways. But George, it wasn't an overnight success, was it? I know that when we spoke, you were sharing with me that through blood, sweat, tears, you were able to achieve a certain status and notoriety. Talk about that, especially in today's culture. I think a lot of people want that instant success, but there's something about longevity and pushing through the obstacles.
I think you're absolutely right. It was not an overnight success. I think it took us, a few good years to become relevant in today's, real estate marketing, whether it's with Matthew Edwards and, 150 other realtors that use our services. I think what happens is that people become dependent on our services, which is a wonderful thing. And we have to up the ante every single time they bring a particular property to the market, because we as stagers have to recognize that this is a very important move for the sellers. This is, some of the biggest, numbers in their portfolios, their personal portfolios. So we have to respect the fact that hopefully this is a win-win for everybody. So we try to make, every house as special as possible. The overnight success comes from, many years of tenacity and many years of failures and mistakes. And that's how you really end up, grasping the cup and finish, going to the finish line, is just by learning from your mistakes and learning how to smooth out the wrinkles every single time that, we have if we achieve a home run, that's great. But there is a learning curve to every single stage. We don't claim to be perfect. We strive to be perfect. I have an incredible team of installers and everybody else that's, under our umbrella, but it does take a multitude of people to bring, our stage together from concept to installation. So it's a long process, but we've managed.
Well, you were a big part of pioneering, because, as you were sharing, it was a niche untouched at the time. It wasn't popular to stage private residential real estate, and it was very exclusive. I remember you sharing with me to do that. And so certainly pioneering that took some blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, I think the trial and error, where people said, well, as the world progressed in the sense of Facebook, and Instagram and social media, the houses became celebrities themselves, you know? So what happened is once we got into that genre of people putting their house on YouTube or on Instagram or on any social media platform, it had to look the part. There had to be something
Right.
special to this house. Why is it better than, you know, the one down the street? So when the marketing aspect of Matthew Edwards and Dave Perry Miller came in, they said we need to make them look like magazine covers. And so that was part of the magic that we had to bring to the table in order to expedite a winning formula for everybody.
Right, right. And I'm telling you, for those of you that are watching, if you have not seen some of George's work, just pop on Matthew's page there. You'll probably see some of the homes he's staged and designed, or look up on Instagram, Facebook, and it does. The staging and design you've done are magazine cover worthy for sure. And as you said, the numbers don't lie. How many homes have you been a part of selling, George, since opening?
Oh, goodness. You know, we were talking about that last month, the staff and I, and since our inception in part of 07, you know, there's been over 5,000 houses that we've helped, you know, sell across the metroplex. Wow. Which is you know, you look back and you don't believe that number is real, but then you say when you do 300 to 400 houses a year, that number becomes a reality. And then you realize, you know, you've done something wonderful and special, and you've kept yourself busy, and you've kept, there's a lot of people who are a part of the program, you know, and it becomes a great success on all aspects, not just myself, but for vendors that I deal with, you know, for upholsterers, for, you know, painters. We get a house ready from beginning to end. And so that's an important factor.
Most certainly. And Matthew, I know that George has staged and designed many of your houses there, and that's certainly been a key to your success. But as well, I know success for you when you started back out, I think age 17. Success was also not an overnight thing. It also took some blood, some sweat, and some tears. Tell us a little bit about that journey and what else led to your success?
Well, as far as, you know, for real estate, I got my license actually when I was 23 in Colorado.
Okay. I don't know where I got to 17.
Yeah, but I was in Boulder, Colorado, and that was just kind of got me moving in that direction. And plus I was in college and everything else, and I built homes to help pay for everything. So I had all that under my belt because both my older brothers were in that business. So it's always been in my blood. It's always been a passion. And then, you know, I got involved in another business when I came to Dallas, which was men's custom clothing.
Right.
That basically, and it was very successful in Dallas, Houston, LA. But I used all those clients as, you know, I moved them into my real estate. Now, pretty much they're all part of my real estate. So
that's great.
It worked out beautifully for everything. But, you know, it basically, again, it's just been in my blood. And I really got serious about it in 2004 when I did join Dave Perry Miller. And we had him, which was a blessing to be our leader.
Right. And I know where I got the 17 from. It's 17 years in real estate, right? Which is amazing. Again, usually I don't hear the story. Usually, you know, out of the hundreds of top agents I've met with, they've become a part of real estate later on in life. But you joining so young there and staying, another thing that's huge, staying with one brokerage there is quite amazing.
Well, real estate's all about passion. If you don't have passion, it's a very, very tough business. And if you don't have that, I really don't know how people sustain, because it's difficult. You never know from one day to the other what's going to happen. You meet people from every walk of life, and some can be incredible, some can be not so credible. But I love it. I love houses. I love architecture. I love seeing things and making them better. I've worked with investors to flip houses that George has staged for many, many times. So, I mean, it's all of it is just, to me, I mean, I've told George this many a time, I'll be working as a realtor till I can't walk or talk.
That's awesome. I love
Whatever
it.
comes first.
It certainly does. It does take passion.
Yes.
Because it is, like you said, it is a difficult business. And to be in the top 500 here in Dallas, that's certainly a mountain to climb. But as you
Yes.
shared with me, you know, persistence obviously has been embedded in you.
Persistence is extremely important.
Yeah. Why don't you talk about that, especially to those young aspiring real estate agents, or older, as we mentioned, aspiring real estate agents who are making a transition in their career? How important is persistence?
Okay, first of all, salesmanship that I've been doing my whole life is extremely important. You have to understand one-on-ones, being in front of someone is what it's all about. You can't, the formalities of sending an email or doing a text doesn't cut it, because you have to be in, and George knows this extremely well. You have to be in front of somebody to learn their nuances, to learn about who they're and what they're about, and make them feel comfortable with you. And you can't do that with a text or an email. It has to be real time, in their face. And
that, if I can say, in today's day and age, also takes persistence in our culture of the quick text and, you know.
Yeah. But texting sometimes, if you don't do it correctly, can sometimes hit somebody the wrong way. And the same with email. So you really got to get in front of people. But to me, open houses to me have been my claim to fame. And I do them consistently, of course, now, because everything sells so fast. You know, I'll do one open house and they'll be gone. But, you know, back before all this happened, when I had carried 4 to 10 plus properties, you know, because George knows this, sometimes you have a beautiful property back in the normal days, and you're sitting on it for 60 days. So you do open houses. And by doing that, you're picking up new business.
Right.
If you do it correctly. And you just don't sit there and, you know, you have to be there and be prepared you have to know everything that's in the area, all different price points, make people sign in, make them feel comfortable. And I can't even tell you how many clients I've gotten off open houses.
That presentation is huge. And you've gone as far to say to me, Matthew, that if a real estate agent does not do open houses, they should not be in real estate. Talk about that.
Well, because you got to get out and meet the people, and you got to feel it. You have to become a salesperson per se, and you have to get in front of people. And if you don't do that, then how are you going to learn it? You know, and you can't back down from, you know, again, George and I have had many difficult individuals, and you have to understand how to deal with them. And, you know, being in my clothing business, you know, I have to walk, when I was in my 20s, when you walk in and see a CEO, you know, you're kind of a little bit intimidated. But I learned to get over that. Right. And it's the same thing with anything. You have to understand everyone is basically a good person. You have to find some kind of common denominator to make that work.
Right. Presentation certainly, I know, is important, hugely important to both of you. Both style of a house and also, like you're saying, Matthew, your presentation, open house, how you greet and talk to people. And I like how you just talk about that it's so important, the basics, like you had shared with me previously, Matthew, like how to have a conversation. George, let's talk a little deeper about this with you right now. And then I want to go back to Matthew, but how important is presentation?
The presentation of a particular property or the presentation of the business itself?
I would love to hear both from you, because I know that we've talked on both fronts there.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, in meeting various clients, you know, you never know what you're going to get A to Z. Like I said earlier, this is a very important step for sellers, is to put their property on the market. It's a big endeavor for them. It's a lot of work for them. A lot of them don't realize that getting a house red carpet ready, you know, for the real estate market it's a lot of work. It's a lot of elbow grease. Not just because a house seems beautiful doesn't mean it's perfect.
Right.
And if people are living in it, the daily situations of wear and tear are there. So we come in with a soft stick and, really based on what the report that, the real estate agent brings to me and says, listen, this house is absolutely pitch perfect. It just needs some personality, or vice versa. This house needs a lot of work. Get ready. We come in not thinking we know it all, but we need to help people get to that point of knowing it all.
That's good.
And so we become part of the seller's formula for success. And so, whether it's free advice or advice to, anything from staining an outdoor fence or replacing dead plants outside, getting a pool retiled, we try to make that client feel well taken care of. There are some that respond wholeheartedly 100%. And before you know it, the house is on the market. The house has got some offers. Presentation, as far as, it could be a little simple house of $150,000, but, having it scrubbed and having it shiny, like a shiny penny ready for the market, people appreciate that. And buyers from all walks of life and all price points appreciate something that you've worked on, whether it doesn't have to be a luxury product. It could be a starter home for a young family in the Metroplex, barely moving here from another state. So I think when they see effort behind the cause and effect, then I think that is how it works, basically.
Right. I love what you said, getting the house red carpet ready. I think of all the details, I'm sure, that goes into celebrities getting red carpet ready, from the nails, the hair, the makeup.
It's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing, from having the windows washed inside and out, having the ovens cleaned, having the grout regrouted, the carpeting either changed out or shampooed. Process of elimination, where I tell people, take out the clutter. So there's a lot of work that goes behind it. And you have to have patience, and you have to, tolerate people's indifferences. We're there to put a smile on people's faces, at the same time. Sometimes, most of the time, it's quite easy. Most of our clients are well educated and informed. And other times it's a little bit more difficult, because you are talking about people's private home where they, eat, sleep, and live, and it's sacred to them. So, we never know what we're going to deal with, but most of the time it's positive.
And I'm certainly that takes some presentation as well, to be able to tactfully suggest some things that need to be done with the home. And I'd love to ask both of you, both Matthew from obviously the real estate agent perspective, and George from your perspective being the stager, the designer, how important is it that a client goes all in with what you suggest, George, for the changes?
I think if they want winning results, it's probably the most important part, to listen to the agent and take their advice. We're there to make their their house sell. We're not there to stop the sale. We're not there to hopefully bring the price down. We're there to bring the price up. And so when a seller is motivated and accepts the constructive criticism, or the 1, 2, 3 list of what to do, it's easier for us to get to the finish line for them. And in order, this is for them. Yes, we all profit off of the same margin, but it's for them.
Right.
And that's basically the how I see it.
Right. And Matthew, what about you? When you're hearing from George and your clients are hearing some of those suggestions for the home, how important is it that they go all in?
Well, first, that's the first thing out of if the house needs to be staged, that's the first thing out of my mouth. I said it's imperative that this does get staged. Now, if they're difficult, then I call George and I have him come in and be my third party, because he's killed it, because he has a way about him.
Right.
This is his gift. It was one of his gifts. He has a way about him where people, they they chill, they listen to him, and they write him a check. So I mean, after he gets everything done, and they're happy. But sometimes we've had, and George will agree to this. I know I've had a few clients that have been a little testy, but when their house sells, then they're okay.
Right. And again, like you said, George, the numbers don't lie. And obviously there's a legacy, there's longevity there. And certainly you've built such a huge legacy, both of you here in the Dallas area. And so, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's just through hard work and hard, cold facts that we're, still around, still going strong. There's some wonderful competition. There's some wonderfully talented staging companies in town. I think, we couldn't service every single house in the Metroplex. There has to be healthy competition. Mm-hmm. But I do think that staging has become a very normal part of the marketing strategy of just about any successful real estate agent that's out there. Matthew said something important. There are some houses that don't need staging, and maybe sometimes virtual staging helps out. But most of the houses that need it because there's a factor involved.
Right.
And when your buyer comes in, they want to see themselves in the house or see how the house breathes or how it lives and how they see themselves in it, which is right around the corner once they make an offer. But every house is different. It's an editorial process. It's an important part of marketing a particular property, and that's the story.
Mm-hmm. And I know when we've talked before, George, that you've said even within the stage and design industry, there's different niches that each company has. So what would you say your style is? What inspires you?
Yeah, I've got, Dallas is full of extraordinary interior designers and staging companies. There's so many talented people here in Dallas that we get influenced by. When we see their work, it influences us. We get excited when we see, top-notch interior designers and decorators do their magic. So it really, and we stay on top of the trends. I think we're known for just being really basically a classic staging company where we stick to the classic lines. We have, custom pieces of art by several wonderful, talented artists here in town and abroad. Mm-hmm. And we have custom floral arrangements. We get, custom furniture by Uphold Designs, who is a wonderful company that we use all the time to make special pieces of furniture that, stand out. And so when we integrate our look, it's a little bit of it's an eclectic mix of classic lines, but yet we throw in, points of interest, whether it's artwork or florals or just how the furniture is arranged in particular rooms. And so I think that's what kind of sets us apart from other staging companies. And there, I know a staging company that is more avant-garde. I know one that's a little bit more on the, cutting edge of what is out there. We stick to the classics. It works because we have a lot of classic architecture here in the Metroplex. Right. As time goes on, we're seeing more modern dwellings come up, but everything tapers off. And sometimes trends seem to slow down. Sometimes, the people with the means to buy a luxury product end up taking from the past and adding to what is now.
Right.
So a lot of transitional, dwellings come up from nothing or remodeled. So we have to be prepared for everything, actually, because there's so many styles of architecture in the Metroplex. We don't know if we're going to get a mid-century, a Spanish hacienda, or, a ranch-style home. And those are, plenty here, all over. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have the largest inventory here in DFW for staging. So you can cater to all those different styles.
We have, as a private boutique agency and stuff, we do have, 50,000 square feet of a product plus another location that stores our antique pieces and our unique pieces as well. So we do have a lot. There are some commercial staging companies that have more than us, but they're a nation company and they cater to a different type of customer. Right. Our customer is local. Our customer is guaranteed a unique sense of, overall appeal. And when we had a tornado here about 3 years ago. It did some horrific damages. So we opened up a new venture at GBSD, and it's called Turnkey Living. And so now we stage houses for people who have gone through natural disasters and need a place to live for a year or two, or rent, a condominium or another. So that's turned out to be a very lucrative and a very wonderful experience from sports celebrities to, CEOs and everybody in between, private citizens that need a place to stay while there was a terrible natural disaster or a flood or a fire. And so we provide that comfort level, and that those expectations are met. And we call it just, premium turnkey living, which brings, everything you need in a kitchen, in a master bath, to towels, to mats, to waste paper, baskets, linens and beds, and everything you need for a family to be held safely in a different place until their primary residence is
a home away from home.
A home away from home is the best way to say it. Absolutely. You're
Now I wonder, and you too, Matthew, how many clients of yours have said, I want to keep this custom artwork piece. I'm sure you've had that a lot, George.
Yeah.
Yes. And that just happened on Pine Forest. This one person that came in for the open house wants to purchase some art. So, that happens all the time.
I'm sure.
All the time. Furniture, whatever. It happens all the time. And George, I know you've sold almost the whole house sometimes.
Yeah. We have. And so, it's that process started on Rochelle about maybe 5 years ago. We did start selling inventory that was, basically displayed in staged properties, which we thought, the people are willing to buy it. They love it. It makes them feel good. Why not sell it to them? It keeps us fresh and on the cusp of everything new that's coming out. And so it really turns our inventory, a little bit more faster than not selling it, of course. So we love selling the pieces to people who want them, and we will do so. Yeah.
Well, you make a custom piece like that, just perfect for the house. I can't see why people would not, and supporting the local artists.
That's the best part, is that this cycle, this real estate cycle, keeps many people, healthy and working, and it's $1 billion industry. We're so lucky to be a part of it, and it takes a lot of hard work, but yet it's a very, a lot of people profit off of this from everybody, all sorts of vendors.
Right. Now we have a question I see coming in here. Do you have any pieces, George, that you won't sell?
We have some estate pieces that we don't sell, that we do feature. We have unique one-of-a-kind purchases. People from all over the country send me presentation packages of their, whatever it is that they're making or have made or have in their showrooms. We end up buying them. We showcase them. Some pieces we don't sell because they're heirloom pieces or they've been inherited. But most pieces can be sold. I think 80% of our stock can be sold. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Well, before we hop back here, I want to talk about a few more of the basics here, Matthew, that you had pointed out to me. But George, we have yet to hear about your wonderful upbringing and travels around the world that have inspired what you're doing today. I'm sure people watching would love to hear a little bit about that.
Is that for Matthew or for me?
For you.
Sure.
I remember you sharing about just the different fabrics and furniture, and your mom being a vast collector of beautiful things.
Yeah. Well, no, I had a wonderful upbringing. I, was born and bred in Texas and California. And, I was lucky enough to be schooled overseas and lived overseas in Lugano, Switzerland for many years. I saw many wonderful things there in my travels as a young person. And it was an education itself for that many years to be, backpacking and traveling throughout Europe and all the museums and all the private houses that we were, eligible to go in. And so I think that brought a lot to my own culture of how I see, the world.
Right.
Just traveling all over the United States and living in houses all over Mexico, and just kind of that always, gave me a little bit of an edge in my know-how. And so I always, I always I like everything. I like all sorts of styles. So I think when you're purchasing product for the business that we have now, I think it gives me a little bit of a comfort to know that, a lot of people like a lot of things, and one person can like many styles of, fabrics and sofas and chairs and so on and so forth. So I was lucky enough to have that privilege, and hopefully people can learn from that too. So.
Right. I love it. I love it. Being a world traveler myself, that certainly has impacted my worldview, the different styles I appreciate, and how amazing to incorporate that into your stage and design company.
Yeah, I think it's from the past. I don't travel as much now as I'm older. I don't go out as much. I think the world that we live in right now is a little bit more trepidatious. But I think once hopefully once things settle down, that we get back on the road and we travel with the freedom and the luxury that we had before.
Right.
And hopefully that's right around the corner sooner than later. But for now, we stick around to our roots, and we just kind of we make do with whatever it is that was in front of us. Like I said, Texas, the Metroplex has so many talented vendors, from ironwork to painters to furniture manufacturers themselves, and so there's so much to choose from here locally that we're actually very lucky.
Right. And speaking of things in common there, Matthew, like you were saying earlier, George, I have something in common with you with your travels there that you, I think, told me when I was at the warehouse there, your office. You said you had ridden camels in Egypt.
Yeah.
Am I remembering correctly? I have also ridden camels in Egypt. Wow. And so
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I certainly hope too that the world gets back to normal travel. But I love it too, Matthew, how your background, that salesman background, and also your family has also inspired and helped you to get to where you're at today, being again in that top 1% to 2% for real estate here in Dallas.
Yeah, and also, Rachel, we are, George and I, and real estate right now in Texas, it's a totally different game than the rest of the nation. I mean, we have so many companies moving here that, these prices that are up 10 to 20%, a lot of it's become the new normal.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people don't like hearing that, but a lot of it will become the new normal. And the thing is, we have so much impacted here, it's not going to stop. And so we're blessed. I mean, we are truly blessed. And the good, that's a good thing for me because I'm established, but it's not so good for young agents, because there's a lot of agents that are not working. I mean, think about it. There's very few properties. The inventories are extremely low. So if you're not one of them, like I get listings now and they're gone, bam, bam, bam. And if you're not getting those, and then you just have buyers, that can be a little trepidatious, because and I have 3 buyers I'm working with right now, but you have to hit the ground running, and you have to educate them, and you have to say you're going to dig deep in your pocketbook because you're going to have to pay more.
Right. So what would you say to those aspiring real estate agents, or those that are starting out, like you said, that are struggling? What are some keys that you would give them?
You've got to, first of all, find out who you are, what you are, brand yourself. Let people know who you are and what you stand for. Then you need to start farming. And that's what I did in the very beginning. I farmed myself in Highland Park. And, I'd had very few listings, but I got my first $1 million listing. And then, I went from that. But I branded myself. And Dave Perry Miller let me use some of the properties that we had, in our association then, which really helped me. And so a
Right.
lot of people, they don't understand that part of it. And then I go back to the open house. Dave let me do open houses all the time for him,
Mm-hmm.
and then I picked other people to do open houses until I learned the craft.
And all the cold calls I remember you sharing with me.
Yeah, but when I first got started in the open houses, and this was during the building era, extreme building, and especially in Preston Hollow and Highland Park, but I picked up 4 builders, 4 very good builders during that time period from open houses that came in.
Wow. Now, you also have an eye, like you said, branding and marketing, again, is a passion of yours. What does marketing look like today? Where is it heading? What are the new things? What's happening there?
Okay, well, first of all, social media is extremely important. Instagram, I mean, that's a good vehicle as well. But just putting that out there consistently where people know who you are. LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn's been better to me than anything else.
Oh, wow.
Because I have all my clients on there. So it goes to someone that, really sees it. And I've had clients, and Matt, just got this. I want you to come talk to me about selling my house. So, that to me, I mean, Facebook, that part, it's kind of more just getting it out there because I have a lot of my sphere that's on there on Facebook. But, we have groups, real estate groups within the Facebook that really that to me is that's important. Because
Right.
you want to get it out there to the successful agents out there to know what you got.
Like our closed top 1,500 DFW real producers group there.
There you go. And then that's a great thing. And what you guys have brought to the table too, I think, is wonderful. It's a vehicle that didn't exist, and you're making this really happen in a wonderful way.
Yeah, community, I think, is so important. I say it again and again. It's so important no matter what sector of society you're in. Yeah. And how incredible, again, to have this community of the top 1 to 2% in real estate here in DFW. And again, we love having you a part, Matthew, and you a part, George. And I love what you mentioned, Matthew, about how businesses coming to Texas here and what's happening there. And it makes me think of something new that you're launching there, George. Why don't you share about that?
Well, I mean, we what we do is when we realize that there's over 40 companies just from California moving here with, each company has anywhere from 30 to 100 employees. There's a chance that, those companies are going to need, excuse me, some sort of guidance. And so, the turnkey living is what has really propelled us to a new level. And just spearheading that endeavor from beginning to end and reaching out to those corporations,
right.
That has really kept us quite busy.
Right. So the turnkey is not only for those that there's been a natural disaster and they're needing a home away from home, but it's also for corporations.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's great. So thinking back here, I know I asked you, Matthew, what you would say to aspiring real estate agents.
Yes.
I wonder, George, because I know that there's a lot of wisdom here. Both of you have been in the industry about 15, 16, 17 years.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, George, what you would say to aspiring stagers, designers who are wanting to break into the field. I know you're very much too about mentoring and helping build up the next generation.
I think if they're serious about the business and they know exactly what they want, sometimes success doesn't come overnight. And, with social media, I think the younger generation have a somewhat convoluted image of what success is. And success for many of us is totally different levels. Some people think success is owning a penthouse and driving a Rolls Royce. Other people think success is owning a house out in the country with a few acres, and that's okay. We're all different, and we all have different dreams
Right.
and different aspirations. So the younger people, I always say, make sure that if you do it with passion. If you do it with respect and tenacity and drive. You have to have drive, and you have to have discipline, and you have to get up in the morning. You have to, just address what challenges you face every single day. Those challenges sometimes are easy and sometimes are difficult. That is part of our everyday lives in business and outside of business.
Right.
And I think if you stick to it and you love it, you're going to go somewhere.
Right. Passion, like Matthew was saying, you have to have passion in this business because it's a difficult business. I know both staging and design and real estate, being a real estate agent there. But I love your question there, George. Like, what does success mean to you? I want to turn that back around to you, Matthew, and to you, George. What does success mean to you both? I mean, you are extremely both successful here. You are DFW's Real Estate Best. How do you define success?
Well, I do to me, my goal is to make my clients happy. And that's really what it's all about. There's so many people that they're in this business for the money, for the buck. But yes, you make very good money. But your first goal is to make sure your clients are happy. And that means a lot to me to have clients that when you sell their house, for $150,000 over asking or whatever, or just sell their house at asking, they're extremely happy with the whole process. And I'm a big stickler on testimonials too, which that's another thing for people new in the business. A lot of people are intimidated by asking for testimonials. That is gold in your pocket.
Right.
Gold in your pocket. And you can market yourself with that, and there's nothing better.
Right.
Nothing better. But I mean, for me, true success is just, again, loving to get up every day and do your business, being passionate about every aspect of it, and then making sure that your clients are the happiest they can possibly be with you.
I love that. I love that. What about you, George? What is success for you?
I think you're on the same lines of what Matthew just stated. I think being happy with what you're producing and making the people that are hiring you happy is the key to the success of any type of institution, any type of business, large or small. I do believe that our personal happiness, my personal happiness here at George Best Agent Design comes from really keeping such a large, extraordinary, devoted staff, keeping them happy and making sure that, what we're doing, we love what we do. We love to go to the jobs and do our thing and come back, and the
right.
Seller is satisfied and happy. The broker is ecstatic. The photos are exquisite, and everybody wins. Everybody's a part of the winning formula.
Right.
And we repeat that. And every adventure is different. Every avenue is different. Every street, every boulevard. And so that is part of the everyday magic. I think when you have a positive attitude, even in a not so positive environment, it can take you places. So you have to keep a positive mentality of really uncertain, circumstances in the future. We don't know if tomorrow is for certain. We don't know if tomorrow will be here. But if it does come, then you have to take it with a positive attitude and just ride it through. And I think that's part of our personal and business happiness.
Right. Good words for living in today's world, both of you. I love what you said too, George, in a previous conversation. You were sharing about how success has also been helping others along the way. Like you shared there, that when you said to me, when you help people be better, you are better. And
absolutely. And that's I think that's anybody who's in a leadership position. I don't want to leave anybody behind. So I don't care if it's, even the maintenance crew or the installers or whomever is part of the group. Knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more you grow and the more you're worth. And so part of that part of that development process is making people, wear different hats, but it's to get to a certain level, the next level, whether it's within this entity or another one. I've always told everybody we meet extraordinary people in this business. And sometimes we have headhunters who have cherry-picked some of our staff because of their, positive energy, and I always want the young people to grow to a better themselves and not have any hurdles. If there's something better for them awaiting in a different industry, then I always say, chase that dream, follow that dream. What you learned here with me for the time was valuable, and we respect the fact that you want to grow and be better. So I think helping people is really important. I think you don't take anything with you once it's over. So I think the best thing to do is just help people along the way. Have a great time, and then have a great drink afterwards. So.
No, I think, meeting with, again, hundreds of the best in real estate here in DFW, I tell you, that is a key thing, which I'm proud to say, that's really big, a part of our community here in DFW of the best in real estate. There is such a giving mentality. Perhaps someone from the outside looking in would think it's take, got to climb and squash on some people on my way to the top. But I tell you, I'm sure that that's present in some degree, but from the vast majority that I've spoken and I've met with, it's been a mentality of there's enough to go around. Let's help one another. Let's help one another be better. And so I think we're so blessed just to have this mentality that seems to be common, and having met with hundreds of the best here in DFW's real estate, it's been refreshing, and certainly hearing it again, it's just like a breath of fresh air of like, yeah, that's what this community is about, helping one another. And Matthew, you seem like you might have something to add here.
Well, basically, again, to be able to positive energy, when you walk into a house to get a listing, they feel that they know it. And that's what it's all about. You got to have, and George does this all the time too. When you walk into a room and you might have a couple clients that are a little bit difficult again, you can literally change that whole setting. Just being confident, being positive.
Right.
And just walking in there, and you can change somebody from being kind of out of sorts to putting a smile on their face, and that's the key thing, because in order to get things done, you have to be in the same playing field.
Right.
So, to me, that's everything. Again, for the new people coming in, work on your persona, how when you walk in, be happy, be smiling, and be confident. So no, it's all a good thing.
Yeah. And this hour certainly has all been a good thing. I've loved hearing the wisdom, the advice, hearing more of the stories, the backstory. And I'm sure there might be some people watching that are like, I want to get in touch with Matthew. I want to get in touch with George. And so why don't we start with you, George? How do people get in touch with you?
It's basic. We have a website. It's georgebass at design.com, and all our contact information is there. We are on Facebook, on Instagram. All our contact is on there as well. So yeah, people reach out to us daily for inquiries, whether it's work itself or staging itself or advice. And so we give advice is free. We're happy to tell people what we think and what we know. And
oh,
lost him.
I think the internet just cut out here for a moment. But I think he was just sharing about, the advice. As I'm sure as you all were listening a moment ago, George is a very giving man. And Matthew can speak for that personally. You've known him for again 17, 20 years, you said. And so
well, he's not only I work with him, but he's also a good friend of mine. So there you have it.
And so I know Lendon will get George's contact information scrolling along the bottom there. But Matthew, how do people get in touch with you?
Easiest way, you can email me at, Matthew@daveperrymiller.com, or you can call me on my cell phone, which is very easy number, 214-704-3333. Text me, whatever.
Awesome.
Very, very easy.
And how do they get, I was going to say LinkedIn on those social media channels, but LinkedIn, how do they find you on there, your other social media channels?
Yeah, well, LinkedIn, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm in groups. Well, groups are basically just other real estate avenues, period. So, and Instagram too, I'm on that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Matthew. And thank you
very
George. This was fun. Loved having you guys on the show. Again, everybody, some of DFW's real estate best here in the DFW, Matthew Edwards with Dave Perry Miller, top 500 Dallas real producer and top producing agent at Dave Perry Miller, one of the original 10, recruited again by the man himself, Dave Perry Miller. And then, of course, George Bass, owner of George Bass Stage and Design. Again, just loved having you both apart. Again,
it was great being here.
Huge part of the community. Love having you a part of the community here, and look forward to seeing you both in person at one of our upcoming events. I'm going to do just a little tease here for those of you a part of Dallas Real Producers. Keep your ears and eyes open. We're going to be doing an exciting announcement soon for a special event, an awards gala coming up soon here for the community. But George, welcome back.
Welcome back, George. You got lots of cyberspace.
Well, you were saying that people can reach out to you for advice.
Yes, absolutely. It's georgebass, design.com. Sales at georgebassdesign.com. People can reach out to us and, ask for our advice. We have complimentary go-sees, meaning when we come to your house, there's no charge for that. We come and see your house and, we explain to you what we do. And, there's a chance for the public to know something, grow, some type of information from those meetings. So we're happy to come out and take a look and see, what is going on with that particular property.
Awesome.
And advice. And, advice is free. So.
Right. And those of you watching, you'll see George's information scrolling along the bottom here. But anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm going to have Lyndon come in here in a moment, and he's going to share about this awesome platform that we're streaming through called Difference. And he works again with entrepreneurs locally and statewide, helping them get their message out across many different platforms. But next week, stay tuned. We have Lance hosting the podcast, and so get ready to hear from him. Same time, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. Again, make sure to subscribe. We're on Spotify, iTunes. We're on YouTube there, Facebook. Make sure to become friends. Feel free to add myself, Lance, Jordan, George, Matthew there. We want to stay in touch with you all. But thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And Lyndon, why don't you bring it in and close the show?
I will. I'm going to stay off camera today, like I do a lot of times. But I will. First of all, I want to thank Matthew and George for being on the show. I want to obviously thank Real Producers for being a partner. When we created The Difference, and I'll just say this, it was more of an experiment of mine, social media marketing and things like that. But I called it The Difference because I wanted to know personally what was the difference between the top producers, the people that really get it done, and all the hardworking people that never seem to reach the top. And with over 600 people coming on the show in the past, 2 years or plus, and it's so evident listening to Matthew and George, because the people that really reach the top, and Rochelle, you hit on it, they're the givers. They're not just the takers. They're the givers. They're the ones that want to give something back to not just the people, but the industry itself that's been so good to them. And we've talked about it before, but you can be competitive. You don't have to hate each other to be competitive. Right. You don't have to be cutthroat to be competitive. It does a disservice to whatever industry you're in to try to run the others down. And when I listen to Matthew and I listen to George and their generosity to sit and give advice and give their insight and give their wisdom and experience, it's so clear why so many people reach one level and others just don't quite make it. That's the difference.
Right.
Yep.
Huge.
So thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you very much.
Real Producers,
Thank
Matthew,
you.
George, great meeting
Thank
you
you.
guys. And Real Producers will be back again next Wednesday at 11. See you guys later.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everyone.
Bye.